Are you struggling to come up with original content week in and week out? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients, let them talk about what they care about most, and never run out of content ideas again. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show. Welcome back to B2B Growth. I'm Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. I'm joined today by Josh Fedie. He is the founder over at SalesReach.io. He's also the host of the Founders Mentality podcast. Josh, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on. I've wanted to be on the show for a while, honestly. So I appreciate
you flatter us, man. You flatter us. I've seen some of your content, seen some of the stuff that you guys are doing over at SalesReach. You and James met up several months back, had a great conversation. So It's been a long time coming. I think you and I are going to riff a bit on something that's got us a good bit fired up lately. Should salespeople create original content or not? Arguments for, against, and how they should go about it. So before we get into that, as much as I've got to rein you back a little bit on this topic, give us a little bit of context. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you and the SalesReach.io team are up to these days, man.
Yeah, so SalesReach is a sales enablement software, right? We're a SaaS product. What we really created for was to try to solve for some of the clunkiness that exists in the B2B sales environment. And what I mean by that is that for the longest time now, marketing has kind of held the key on anything digital. And salespeople have kind of been falling back on these older tricks that they've always been using and not really embracing a digital environment in their efforts. And the problem with that is that's really where buyers are comfortable today. The way we buy in the Amazon world is the exact same way we want to translate that into our business life. And so it just starts feeling really clunky to people when it's like, I can get anything delivered to my door in 5 seconds without talking to a salesperson. Why can't I just get everything I need on a website and then just have everything delivered to my business, right? In the B2B space, we're trying to solve for the confusion that happens because marketing is so great at creating all this content and buyers are downloading all their own information, self-informing. I'm sure you've talked about this many, many times, right? When the salesperson comes in, all we really do is confuse the situation because we give them even more information. And then we're like, good luck, have fun organizing this. I'm going to send you a whole bunch of attachments and emails and you're never going to figure this out. And then you got to bring it to a team, have fun with that. And so we really wanted to clean that up. Our tagline is that we're here to help your customer-facing teams to deliver better customer buying experiences. That's really what our core product is.
I love it, man. What you're saying there is just so true. I was in B2B sales in the office equipment space and talk about like still hitting the road with binders and brochures and all these sorts of things. And even folks who are in SaaS today, you make a really good point. Marketing does such a good job of engaging folks on this digital path, making it easier for them to consume content. And then they hit sales. And maybe there's a disconnect in messaging, but that's a whole other conversation. But the disconnect in the delivery of the content, all of a sudden, all right, we got to go back and forth on Word or PDF for these proposals and agreements and those sorts of things and all sorts of attachments. And then you're not getting the insights into those things. How are they viewing it? How are they sharing it with their team? The way that marketing is looking at that buying journey. And you've got folks that are closer to close. So anyhow, I love the work that you guys are doing. I think you're addressing something really well there. Let's get into today's topic. You kind of closely related to your mission to help salespeople create a better customer experience. And one piece of that is, should salespeople be putting out their own original content? And I saw a post on LinkedIn about a week and a half ago, and it stopped me dead in my tracks over the weekend. And there was an individual who was railing against this lie that today in 2020, B2B salespeople should create content, original content. What do you have to say about that, man?
Yeah. Look, I mean, marketing people for the longest time held the keys on anything that was put up in a digital space. And they really held that closely because a lot of the things that were being created, they felt like those were their babies. And they didn't necessarily want to allow salespeople in on that. And look, salespeople are just as much to blame for this problem because if you give a salesperson the ability to design something, they are going to design it. If you give them the ability to stretch a logo or change a color scheme on something, they're going to do it. And marketing people can't stand that. And I understand that. And I respect that. And I've worked on both sides of the coin. I've been a director of marketing and a director of sales in my life, right? So I've been in both of those arguments before. But at the end of the day, today, the way the world is working right now, we cannot shelter the entire digital experience from sales professionals. Building our personal brand is really everything to us right now. Building the trust in a digital space with people that maybe we haven't even met yet, giving them a reason to reach out to us is job number one for a salesperson. Because I'm sure you've talked to people before where everybody's trying to crack the nut on how do I build a list of all these people that I want to hammer after off of LinkedIn? How do I then approach them? Should I send them messages? No, I get those messages all the time. I hate those. Okay, should I bait them into a meeting where I ask them something that's totally unrelated just because I know I can get the meeting and then try to turn around and sell my services to them? No, everybody's been in that meeting. We all hate that meeting. How do we just get people to reach out to us without us reaching out to them? That's all in the personal branding. That's all in creating content. The thing that I say all the time when I'm going off on this rant with businesses is businesses need to understand that me as an individual working for an organization, I have 10 times the reach that company's LinkedIn page or any social channel has on their own. And so not leveraging me to help them drive awareness and bring in business in that way is really just going to hurt that organization.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm so glad that someone else is screaming that. I've been screaming that here in my office over the last several months. One of the things we help some of our customers do is create content from their podcast, repurpose it for LinkedIn that isn't just like, hey, check out episode 5, but it's actually a written piece that could be good organic content. And we struggle sometimes with folks saying, oh, we want to push that through our company page. It's not really written from that perspective. Well, we do that for good reason. I had someone else say, is B2B growth really a big deal? Like you tell me it gets 100,000 downloads a month because you guys don't have that many followers on LinkedIn. I was like, well, look at James, look at our founder and CEO's followers, look at my network, because we've invested there because like you said, 10 to 20x the reach, on a good day of those company pages. And so many folks just over-index and over-invest their time and energy in trying to get more reach out of those company pages. And just the way that people consume content and the way that the platforms are set up, at least today on LinkedIn, you're spinning your wheels in the wrong direction, man.
Yeah.
You hit on something that I think is crucial. And I feel like I can say this because I'm a B2B seller myself. I talk to marketers all day long on this podcast, talk to marketers about their podcasting offline. But at the end of the day, I am a salesperson. I head up sales for Sweetfish. And to me, you hit on the key there. When I look at my own life and putting out content, I am able to build trust, which leads to credibility, or credibility that leads to trust, whichever way you put it. And to me, one of the arguments in the LinkedIn post that I saw was that no, sales' job is to put context to marketing content. And to me, I'm just picturing myself 10 years ago, pulling articles and sending those. And does that do something? But it's 2020, man. That to me is not even a drop in the bucket in proving to that person looking 2 seconds at your email that you understand them at all.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me at all here, man? What do you think?
I do. I want to jump in and just play devil's advocate for whoever put this post up, because here's what I think they might have been addressing. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves. If you work for an organization and your marketing team is putting out these posts and all you're doing is resharing those posts, you're not doing anything for yourself or your organization, because nobody wants to follow. Look, people buy from people, right? They fall in love with the people at the organization. They don't need to see you reshare things that your company's sharing. If they cared about what your company was sharing from your company's position, they would follow your company's page. And guess what? They're not following your company's page. They want to know how this impacts you in your life. And so it is incredibly important. If you're sharing something that your company is excited about, because at your core, that is part of your mission as a person yourself, and this is part of your personal brand, you should be creating context around why you're resharing it, why this is important to you, because that's going to reinforce your personal brand. And I'm hoping that that's more what the person was talking about. But at the same time, we have to remember, it has happened time and time again. I have a great story that I love. Someone once came up to me after a conference I was speaking at. I was talking about social selling and how we need to allow salespeople to think like marketers and create content and create their own brand and all that stuff. And she came up to me and she worked for a huge corporation, Fortune 500 company. And she said, I want to tell you a story. There was a salesperson in our office once that was trying to create some content and put together a webinar and had a series of prospects that joined this webinar. She was really excited about this and put the logo on the screen and everything, give the company a shout out. About 10 minutes into this live webinar, someone from marketing came running out of the office and shut it down, reached over the person's shoulder and shut the live webinar down. And the reason this person did this is because the pixel dimension around the logo was not on brand standards. And something like that, listen, if you're an organization and you're that stringent about things, that you're not going to give people enough freedom to go and tout your company and to use their network to bring you more revenue, you only get one chance at this. If you slap someone on the hand for something that trivial, they will never put their neck on the line again to help bring you more revenue. Never, ever, ever. Why are we doing things like that? It still happens today. Why?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can just picture that happening. I just don't have any trouble picturing that scenario playing out. As you were going, I was like, oh, here it goes. Now, what you said earlier is like, make it easy for salespeople to leverage the brand. I understand that. I'm a photojournalism major in college, and I took design, and I can hold my own graphic design wise. Like, I totally get that. But instead of saying, nope, you shouldn't have done that, slamming it shut with interested prospects on the line on a webinar, how about you just set up some guardrails to be able to take advantage of that enthusiasm? Because, as the old saying goes, nothing happens until somebody sells something, right? And so if you have, sales prevention departments all over the place, from, I don't want to like throw rocks at legal and everybody else, but like there's been those jokes in sales environments, right? If marketing becomes a sales prevention department, like you said, then they're not going to try again.
Yeah.
So I think you touched on something really good there, Josh. I felt like when I saw this post, the concern was, I don't want my salespeople losing productivity, kind of scrolling LinkedIn, maybe typing up something, or like they've got to be great copywriters or editing stuff and spending time over this. And you and I were just riffing before we hit record, man. You guys are very like-minded over there at SalesReach, as we are here at Sweetfish, and just taking Gary V's content on content model to figure out how can you maximize the number of pieces of content. And so because you guys are executing it, and because you probably see some salespeople who are doing this well when they've got an open lane to run in, what are some of your tips for salespeople and sales leaders or marketers who are trying to enable that enthusiastic salesperson to do it? And one, stay within the rails, and two, be able to do it efficiently where it is actually yielding the results that they want.
Yeah, man, I don't even know how I could answer that in less than 30 minutes, honestly. I mean, I could go down so many different roads with that. What I will start by saying is that as far as the Gary V content model goes, absolutely embrace that. I don't do anything unless it's being recorded, ever. I'm recording what you're recording right now on my own, because I'm going to repurpose this for myself when we get off of this. This isn't just yours. This is me too. This is my time too. I can do what I want with this, right? You need to be looking to maximize every interaction that you have throughout the day. Now, there's so many simple ways to do this, and there's so many complex ways to do this. I think that companies need to release the reins a little bit more on things like this, because I'm more of the philosophy of moving fast, failing fast with many different ideas and concepts. It's okay to me to put something out that's a little bit scrappy and maybe potentially a little bit off brand, because I'm going to find out how off-brand that is, or maybe that's more the brand that I should be. But I'm not going to do that if I'm afraid to try something new, right? And so I'll bring cameras with me all the time. Sometimes I record with my cell phone. Sometimes I'm recording with, I don't even know, $15,000 worth of camera equipment that's staring at me right now, right? Whatever it is. Sometimes I want the really high quality stuff. Sometimes I think a lot before I record a video. Sometimes I literally just hit record and just start talking, right? And if I feel like it was okay, I just put it out there. I think that at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is create content and build our brand, our personal brand, in the most human way possible. And humans flounder. Humans stutter when they talk sometimes. Humans say the wrong word every once in a while. I'm a big believer in not editing things like that out because I don't always say things the right way. And when someone meets me in real life, I want them to go, oh yeah, you're the same guy that I just saw in those videos. Yeah, of course I am, because I can't edit myself in real life. Why would I be editing myself on these videos? That seems absolutely ridiculous to me. So, I think that we just need to embrace the philosophy, especially with copywriting too. I mean, look, you touched on so many things here. Copywriting, Dave Gerhardt says this all the time. He loves to talk about copywriting, right? He's not necessarily a copywriter. He's a marketer, but he's not a copywriter. But look, you don't have to be a trained copywriter. I like to write the way I talk. I'm not going to compare myself to Ernest Hemingway, but that's the way Ernest Hemingway wrote. He wrote the way he spoke. And, people can criticize the grammar and the way that I write and whatever. But you know what? I'm trying to convey some emotion in these things that I'm putting out there. And I want to be genuine. I want to be who I am, because I don't want you to work with me if you don't like who I am. But if you do like who I am, this is going to be the easiest deal of my life, because we already relate here. And look, you said it earlier. Trust. We're all trying to get to the point of trust. One of my favorite lines is trust and velocity are closely aligned. It's very, very true. If you can earn trust with somebody, you're going to win that deal. You're going to win that friendship. You're going to win whatever you're trying to win so much faster because you built that trust.
Yep, absolutely, man. One of the sayings or quotes I heard early in my sales career that I haven't quite thought about lately, but you made it just spring to mind, is business closes at the speed of trust.
Yeah.
It's a little bit cheesy, but hey, I kind of like it. And I think it's worth talking about here because, of everything you just said. The other thing I'm thinking is marketing or PR, depending on the size of the organization, salespeople can't be saying things publicly. I'm like, well, hold on. These are the people that are the highest paid per capita within your organization. Typically, they are being entrusted to have conversations with people who want to do business with you. If you are in B2B enterprise sales, especially, they are responsible for a large sums of money or potential revenue.
Yeah.
How do you not trust them? So that makes me think hold on, you just need to figure out your sales hiring. That's not the problem, right? And then creative ways. I love what you said about just recording everything. Take an audio recorder with you. Take your phone and record that. Kick that to marketing. And maybe you've got some good copywriters that can turn that into something that's close to your voice and that work together on stuff. It doesn't have to be sales is pushing stuff out or they can only use what marketing has. That is my big mantra. There are so many ways that sales and marketing can get creative to where marketing can help them push out the content that is authentic, that is in their voice. Maybe the video isn't, a $20,000 production, but kicking it to marketing and having the logo on there that is the right proportions and stuff like that, because that stuff does drive me crazy, right? And so you can get the best of both worlds. Stop fighting each other and look for ways to get creative together. So those are a couple of my points. I'll hop back off my soapbox there for a second. But
because I gotta jump back in real quick before I forget this thought, because honestly, what this all comes down to, these are the people on their front lines. Your sales team these are the people on the front lines. If you don't trust them enough to write something on LinkedIn, how on earth are you ever going to trust them enough to go out and have a business meeting with a prospect or a client on their own? How much do we actually need to hold these people's hands? The way they write on LinkedIn, you can pretty much guarantee that's the way they're talking to people. And so
the way they're writing prospecting emails and follow-up emails and everything else.
This is who they are.
Those? Are you writing those for them? I don't think so.
I don't think so. And if you completely disagree with their tone and the way that they conduct themselves, then you have a problem, right? Then you need to replace that person because they're not a good fit at the company. But at the same time, look, if they're producing and if this is who they are and if this is how they do it, What's your problem with that? Right. And so we need to be careful with that, I think.
Hey everybody, Logan with Sweetfish here. You probably already know that we think you should start a podcast if you haven't already. But what if you have and you're asking these kinds of questions? How much has our podcast impacted revenue this year? How's our sales team actually leveraging the podcast content? If you can't answer these questions, you're actually not alone. This is why Casted created the very first content marketing platform made specifically for B2B podcasting. Now you can more easily search and share your audio content while getting greater visibility into the impact of your podcast. The marketing teams at Drift, Terminus, and here at Sweetfish have started using Casted to get more value out of our podcasts, and you probably can too. You can check out the product in action at casted.us/growth. That's casted.us/growth. All right, let's get back to the show. I'd like to kind of round out the conversation for B2B sellers. I feel like we've been talking to leadership a good bit, or maybe giving salespeople some talking points if they're fighting that battle of, I want to produce content. I need you guys to enable me, or at least loosen the reins a bit, as you said it earlier. Yeah. What are your thoughts on if they are doing this and they're finding ways to bake this content that they're putting out on LinkedIn or otherwise into their sales process? You know, you mentioned at the top of the episode, you guys are looking at the clunky buyer's experience. What is some of your tactical pieces of advice for salespeople who are maybe already creating content, or they're inspired by us getting fired up today, to work it into their sales process in a way that's helpful and doesn't add to the clunkiness?
Here's what I would say. When you're producing content, every single time you're about to hit publish on whatever channel it is, you should be asking yourself, am I providing value in this content? If you're not providing value to somebody, don't bother. Because when it's not value, people don't care. Especially on LinkedIn, we are on there to be educated and to learn. And if in those learnings, it becomes something that makes people want to engage with your company and brand and maybe purchase something from you, absolutely great. But you should be looking to provide value, number one. Number two, when I say I don't do anything without recording it, there's a series that I do on LinkedIn every once in a while that I call Let Me Ask You This. It's just an old sales term, right? Every salesperson always says, let me ask you this on just about every other phone call that they have. But where that came from is I have a Scotch bar in my office. At 4 p.m., we turn it into a Scotch bar. That's the lounge. And I would have sales leaders come in and we'd just have conversations. And one day I was sitting there looking at all these cameras that aren't rolling, looking at all these microphones that aren't on. And I thought, why am I not capturing this? Yes, we're having an honest conversation between two sales professionals, but what is coming out of this is tremendous value for both of us. And why are we keeping this in this bubble? So I made a commitment with the guests that come in and I say, look, I'm never going to release this in full form. I would never put something out there that maybe you say in jest that you wouldn't want to have published. However, when we get into a deep conversation about something that other sales professionals could advance in their career just by knowing today, that's the kind of micro content I want to put out there. Why would I keep that value to myself when so many other people can learn from it? That takes a 1-hour meeting with 2 people and turns it into something that thousands of people potentially can learn something of value from. And that really has been my strategy for getting that content produced. The last thing I'll throw out there before I let you jump in is education around the tools that you can use to create this content. I think that especially large corporations that have a budget need to start investing in these tools so that their team can start using these tools. Cell phone works fine in most scenarios, but there's really no reason that your office shouldn't have a content production hub where people can go in, record some things of higher quality, and then maybe you have an editor on staff that can go through, clean it up, make it look good, keep it on brand, but let the people be who they are and deliver those files to them. I think the more companies that start embracing that philosophy or embracing the philosophy of hiring a team that comes in on a semi-regular basis to sit down with the team and say, what kind of content do you need to produce? Do you need to put together some sales videos? Do you need some one-to-one videos for prospects? Do you need some marketing stuff? Do you need some personal brand stuff? How can I help you? the quicker that companies embrace that philosophy of educating their team about how to use these tools, about how to be helpful online, about how to build their personal brand, the more the companies themselves, honestly, are going to benefit.
Oh man, just dropping tons of fire on us.
I'm
today,
on a huge
Josh.
soapbox.
I love it. I love it, man. And what you just said there, really, as I said before we hit record, man, we're just so like-minded in what you guys are doing over there and what we're trying to do, for a lot of our customers and helping them create content for the individuals within their team so that people can connect with them, because people connect with people way more than they connect with logos. Back to our LinkedIn conversation.
Yeah.
But what you just said there, we've been trying to mirror something along the lines of what you guys are doing, record those behind the scenes moments. For a while now, we've had a behind the curtain series here on B2B Growth. And, just the other day, James and I were talking about like how I've been organizing my inbox and leveraging Gmail labels. He's like, that would make a great episode.
Yeah.
Right. And like you said, if it's what it does is it kind of unlocks, instead of like taking the day to day and then separating, okay, what are we going to create content for? What are people looking for? If you're just recording and like, wait, that's good. That's good. That's good. You don't use everything, right?
No.
We're not saying that, but we're saying if you have that mentality of always being ready to either record right then or have a place for, okay, this would be good. Next time I can jump in front of our camera in the media hub, I'm going to do it. And just keeping people in that mindset, then it's not this forced, crap, that was a little pitchy. I need to find something of value. You train your mind to just look for value in those conversations. Oh, we can share that. We can share that. And you start to realize how easy it is to scale valuable content when it's not forced and it just comes out of what you do. Man, Josh, I could continue this conversation with you all day, man. This has been a blast. Thank you so much for riffing, for giving us both a little time to step back and forth up on the soapbox together, arm in arm, man. Josh, if anybody like me has become a fast fan of yours and would love to stay connected with you, learn more about what you guys are up to over at SalesReach.io, anything like that, where can they follow along, reach out, or stay connected, man?
I would love for anybody to send me a connection request on LinkedIn. Please put a note in there, right? Because I'd love to know the context of where people come from on LinkedIn. Additionally, if you want to learn more about SalesReach.io, that's the web address. I don't need to say it again. That would be a little cheesy, right? But we do have a bot on there that we can have a conversation with you and provide you with a quick web demo to see exactly what we've created here. I put a ton of content onto LinkedIn. There's a lot of different series that we're producing and putting out there. And again, we're just trying to bring the value, right? We're trying to help people. The last thing that I really want to just throw out there, because I think this is the number one thing I see get in a lot of people's way when they're producing content, and I'd like to leave your listeners with this. If you find something valuable and you want to tell people about it, don't be afraid that you're the only person that didn't know it. Because guess what? A lot of people didn't know that. Your value that you're bringing out there, even if you maybe saw someone else talk about it, the people that follow you don't follow that person. They might need to know that, right? So don't be afraid. Just start producing content, start bringing value. It's going to do tremendous things for your personal brand, for your business life, whether you own a business or you're an employee at an organization. It is going to do tremendous things for you in your growth.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, you brought it home really well right there, but I have to add a note just to bring this to light to people, because I'm sorry, we just keep riffing today, man. It's the curse of knowledge. It's like, oh, this isn't valuable. This isn't unique. Everybody kind of knows this. On LinkedIn several months back, I realized that G Suite, which we all operate in all the time, if you go into your URL bar and literally type docs, docs.new, it opens up a new Google Doc without you having to go through the 4 clicks and saves you a ton of time. That post took off. And I was just on a whim, I wonder if people know about this. I'm probably going to get Logan, we know that. But I did that. And I got a ton of new followers and connections and people engaging and thanking me for adding value. And it took all of 25 seconds to post that on LinkedIn. So that is my example there. I just got to reiterate again what you're saying there, Josh. I'm really glad that we had this conversation, that we recorded it multiple ways to Sunday. Thank you so much for being on the show today, man.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
I hate it when podcasts incessantly ask their listeners for reviews, but I get why they do it. because reviews are enormously helpful when you're trying to grow a podcast audience. So here's what we decided to do. If you leave a review for B2B Growth in Apple Podcasts and email me a screenshot of the review to james@sweetfishmedia.com, I'll send you a signed copy of my new book, Content-Based Networking, How to Instantly Connect with Anyone You Want to Know. We get a review, you get a free book. We both win.